Yeah, can you see? Is in and out, and now it is moving linear. This linear, it is moving, and now it is going on the same path. Is, it is moving, now it is going on the same path. Animation delay, no delay. Let me give more delay. See, more delay. The direction, let it reverse. Can you see it is moving in the reverse direction? Normal.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you can copy the code and you can run it on your own system, right? Then demo weather report. See, this getting cloudy. You can change this image. You can change, font size. You can choose to change the font size and all. Timings you can do. Then there is a tryout animation. What's there? Yeah, it's coming. See, lot of animation is there. The text page size. Let me decrease some of the page size because, see, can you see the text shadow? Different colors. Likewise, you can also apply some of the animations. This quiz you can complete by yourself now. Mm, there are few exercises then. Mm-mm. Am I missing anything? No, we have covered almost everything. Now, the important question, why responsive web design? Can you tell me the answer? Why we need the responsive web design?
The website should be fitted on any device.
Sorry?
The design should be fit on the any type of devices like mobile, desktop, laptop.
Hmm. Hmm. Correct. This is what we can understand from the image. What else? Yeah, so that is true. The responsive web design, responsive, that means according to the device, you can adjust. As you can see, the water takes shape of the jug, the pot. Similarly, the website should be responsive enough that if I open in tablet, in desktop, laptop, any screen size I open, it should look good, right? The pixel should not be blurred. So many times, what happens, that mobile devices display full desktop website. In such cases, what happen, the page size is much higher than the expected, because mobile screen size is, the small. So appropriate media queries are a need to be applied. What display we are giving, that needs to be applied, and that system can automatically understand that which particular part it has taken. Mm, yeah. Okay, so can you see the web page layout according to the screen size? There are three techniques: fluid layout technique, flexible images technique, and media queries. So, three ways we can change the screen size. So, flexible images means images can grow or shrink. So, we can mention it using the percentage. I have told you, you can mention like 50%. So, if the screen size is big, it will automatically take that size. If screen size is small, it will automatically take that size. The second one is the fluid layout, right? So fluid layout, what they do, they grow and shrink according to the viewport dimension. We need to use relative units such as percentage or the absolute unit. So when we use absolute unit, when we want to fix something, then we use px. So again, the pixel on the screen will be different, and on the mobile screen will be different in some cases. So for it desktop, it may be not that much big, but for mobile it may be. So we can apply the media queries. So at the red media screen, the max width you can say. So if you have specified the max width, the content will not go out of this boundary. And when you are specifying this height, this width 520, then the size will not be less than 520. It will be minimum 520 only. It will not go beyond 520, right? Then whatever is less than 520, that will be displayed. Now, media types, the important media types is all, means applied to all device. Handheld means only to handheld, print, screen, tv. Likewise you can give. Now what are the values? Numbers, yes. Height, width, you can mention, right? Here orientation only landscape or portrait. There is no minimum or no maximum here. Otherwise minimum and maximum you can specify for all these elements, right? So now you can see, when I want to display this on the mobile screen, I can write name equal to viewport, right? So when we set device width, the page will be as the default zoom out and zoom in will be enabled in the page. Can you see initial scale and maximum scale? That means 1.0, 1.0. That means, can I scale this? No, I cannot do this, right? I cannot scale. In our mobile, we can use two fingers, and we can increase the size of mm, the page, right? And we can again zoom out. So there should be a limit how much you can zoom in. That is what we specify here. So here scale is 0. That means you are not able to zoom in or zoom out, right? So some pages are restricted. Likewise we can do. Even you can open the Springboard website on the mobile, and you can try using zoom in and zoom out. So again, there is a limit for zoom out, there is a limit or the restriction for the zoom in, that how much you can zoom in and how much you can zoom out, right? Okay. mm, okay. Okay. Mm, yeah. The next important parameter is security. Now, everywhere, whenever you create a website, the security is the important measure, or security is very, very important. Somebody asked me that if I can explain the HTML security as well. So yes. So why security is important? See, when we are creating a website, what we are doing, we are coming in the contact of internet. We are coming in the contact of many server, many data, right? Then security is the important part in css and in html both. Because for any website, these are the skeleton, or you can say these are the building blocks, or the foundation. So foundation needs to be strong, right? So the html and css are the foundation of web development. So any vulnerability in these language can exploit it, and that can harm the users, right? That can lead to compromise the data or disrupt the services, right? There can be n number of reason for which the security is important. But a major thing is that the cross site is scripting, it happens, right? See, you go to any website, even you are on this website, you can do the right click and you can see view page source. The whole data, the whole code is coming here. Can you see? I can see the whole code here. So if the security is not applied here, so what you have seen in the form action, the post and the get method, some of you have used that get and post. So when you use the get method and the post method, so one method they give the data in the browser itself, one method they don't give the data in the browser, it is hidden. So if we are sending the password, definitely we need to hide the data in the sender side. If I can simply write data on this header, when I'm submitting, if everybody is able to see that, then there is no use of me putting the text input as the password, where I cannot see. Anybody can copy this address line and they can easily know that what has been sent, right? So both the method, the get and post we use, they send the data. But what happened, one is popularly included because it does not show the data. In post method, data is not sorry, in get method, the data is more secure, right? In post method it is visible. So we use both, but depends on what action, right? So this is very very important, that at what point of time you are using which particular um, method, right? Or what security measures you have applied. Can anyone see your conversation? Can anyone see your data by simply right clicking that? For example, I have created the online exam portal, and if person is little bit good on the HTML, and they can scroll up and see, okay, this is where the answer will be written. Okay, so let me see what is the answer. Then it is not a good practice, right? Because HTML and CSS can actually prevent this kind of harmful behavior, so that it can create a lot of trust on the user, right? So this can lead to expose the sensitive information also, not only the email ID, the password, the pin. We use lot of internet banking also. So if fields are unencrypted, then it can lead to some mitigation, or it can lead to exposure of the data, right? So we use some elements, so that we use some elements to validate or implement the security in our context, right? Let me go to this code first. Yeah. See why HTML security or CSS security. I think it is clear to you, because the attacks can happen directly on the HTML and CSS. Now, what are the possible vulnerabilities? You can see HTML injection, clickjacking, HTML5 attributes and event vulnerabilities, web storage vulnerabilities, reverse tab nabbing. So these are the vulnerabilities. Now let's see them with the example. The first one is HTML injection. Does anyone know what is HTML injection?
The HTML elements can be given in the input field, like a attacking message.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So injection, why it is called the injection? Because attacker can actually inject malicious code along with our original web application code. So that's why it is called injection, because we are any attacker can append the code, and then that can be sent to the server. So what risk could be, they can generate fake login forms, and they can collect some data. They can steal the data. And the phishing attack you must have seen, heard, right? So that kind of attack can happen because of the HTML injection. So basically what attacker is doing, he is injecting the malicious code in HTML into web page. So the improper input validation or sanitization will happen, and then it can lead to the attack. So they can create some false registration forms, or some false questionnaires, right? Likewise they can create, right? Now the type of HTML injection, two types of HTML injection: stored and reflected. So stored means the malicious code injected by attacker will get stored in backend and will get executed whenever the user makes a call to particular functionality, right? And reflected HTML injection happens where the code will not get stored in the web server, rather it will executed every time the user respond to the malicious code. So one way they store the data on the server itself along with the HTML code. So whenever I click on particular button, or the login button, automatically it gets triggered. And in case of reflected, it is it will happen to the limited persons whenever they click on particular malicious code only, right? Then there is a demo also for both of them. You can just check that. The next one is click jacking. Anyone is aware about click jacking, or they have gone through this page? What is click jacking?
Whenever we click on the link, the particular user can be redirected to attacker website or page.
Right, right. So see, click jacking. So hijack we have heard, right? Click we heard. So click jacking is the combination of both the term. So what we do in click jacking, it is a technique where attacker tricks the user into clicking on something different than what the user perceive, right? So maybe they can target page in some invisible frames. Like I cannot see anything, but by mistake if I click here, so it can lead to some unintended action, some unintended web page, or downloading, automatically downloading, because nothing can happen automatically, right? Something has to be triggered, either page load, click, some action has to be triggered. So they can create some invisible systems. Now you understand how to make, how to give links, how to give images, how to give the download buttons and all, how to perform the action. So you can easily understand that if there is a invisible button which I'm not sure, if I'm clicking onto that, it can lead to that seriousness. Or if they have written here, get iPhone 15 for free, and I'm clicking on that, the link could be something different, and it can you know click jack the user. So want to they want user to click on something which they don't intended, right? So there was an attack of one of the popular browser plugin where an attacker added the modified page in an iframe and can trick user into changing the settings of the plugin to get access to the local system's resources such as microphone, camera, etc. Can you see, they can even get that access. So there was an incident in Bombay where the girl's camera they turned on, even the system was turned off. They cannot she cannot see that her system is on, but 24 hours her camera was on. So that kind of issues may also happen. So that's why it is recommended that always keep your cameras cover, whether it is phone cameras or the laptop cameras. Keep your cameras cover, or put your phones upside down when it is not in the use. Yeah. So you know how the click jacking is performed. Now the next demo and all, you can see, please go through that. Okay, so the next one is HTML5 attributes and events vulnerabilities. Right? Can anyone tell me what it is about?
Through the HTML attributes or through the elements event, the attackers can inject the malicious JavaScript code.
Awesome. Only Fazar has gone through the content. Nobody else has gone. I can see she only answering for these questions. All right, no issue. But please go through the content. You have got this opportunity to get trained, so please use this opportunity as max as possible. We are here to help you. Yeah. So HTML5 attributes and event vulnerabilities. That means there are few tags or the attributes that can easily get attacked using some JavaScript code, right? Like button are made like that. We put some actions, as I said, some action must happen, right? So we introduce new attributes and event so that we can provide the enhanced functionality to the user, but that also is potential for the security vulnerability, because if we don't implement these things properly, it can actually lead to all kind of vulnerabilities. Like automatically they can focus on certain form fields like password or the login fields, so user can prone to phishing attack. So that earlier the cyber cafes was popularly used. Nowadays I don't think somebody goes to cyber cafes or not, but they used to store the offline page on the system. And like for example, the user is opening Facebook, the dummy page will be there, their user ID and password will be there, and then there will be guided there'll be message that it is incorrect. They'll think, oh, I have entered the correct one. They'll reload and they'll be guided to the correct website, but the instance is recorded at the back end, the phishing attack, right? Or some social engineering attack can also happen, when somebody can read the parameters like spouse name, right, surnames. So that kind of attacks are also possible. We might think, yeah, what somebody will do with my address, what somebody will do with knowing my name and email ID, what somebody will know if my bank account number is there. But collecting some information from somewhere and some information of from somewhere, they can actually get a lot of information about one person, and that can be actually used for some phishing attack, the social engineering attack. Likewise they can use, right? The Yeah. So you can see here how they can do the malicious script, form action, JavaScript alert. Now you will see, feel that some action or some alert is there. You will definitely click OK. Right? On clicking, upon clicking to that OK, you can go to some other page also. So likewise, it may happen. Mm. The next is local storage vulnerabilities. Right. So what is local storage vulnerabilities? That some data, some files can be downloaded on the client side itself, and they can trigger some code some malicious code which can steal the data and can send data to some other user, right? Then reverse tab nabbing. Can you tell me what is reverse tab nabbing, like
It's
other than
coming.
puzzle?
When
Okay.
I go back to the browser tabs,
Sorry.
when I click on to go back again, it will show some. Sorry,
Okay. Yeah, but tab nabbing, reverse tab nabbing is basically when you
Windows
open.
open function is open. Whenever we
Yes,
use
yes.
Windows dot open, this vulnerability will come in.
Yeah, so whenever you want to open a page into new tab, right, then attacker change the original page in the background, and that page is usually the phishing page which can trick users thinking that that is the legitimate page, but at the background they have actually turned it, changed it, right? Now consider a message forum or a blog where attacker can post the own website link. If user visit that link will be shown some information, but in the background that malicious website will redirect the parent login page to a fake page that looks similar to the original login page. When a user come back to the message forum, they appear to be logged out. Without thinking, they will enter their credential to log in. As the page looks similar to the original one, now the attacker can get hold of the authentication data. Now the user will be redirected to the message forum page automatically, so they won't get any doubt that they have entered the credential in the fake login page, right? So what they are doing, they are making you think that you are logged out while you are not logged out, and they are guiding you to some other page where they are taking your information, right? Like for example, mm, I'll show you one thing. No, that is a legitimate thing, but I will show you that how this happened. Mm, okay, see, now I'm trying to open this particular PPT. Now it is asking me to give my email address. I will give this email address thinking that I'm logged out of this Microsoft thing. Now when I enter my email ID, next it will ask me to enter my password, and it will just grab that, right? This is reverse tab nabbing, right? So there are some security checklist you can apply on your browser. Do not just rely on client side validation. HTML5 provides perform feature to perform client side validation, but do not just rely on the client side validation. The client side validation also happen using JavaScript. Okay, so the server side as well for the sensitive action like authentication, right? So any input from the user can be assumed as untrusted. Proper sanitization of the input data provide protection from different kinds of attacks like HTML injection. Now use attributes no opener to no referrer, right? No opener and no referrer. So what will happen whenever a link is provided to open in a new tab? No opener, no referrer. So what will happen, the background change may not be possible. Then sandbox attributes for the iframe, whenever you are using sandbox attributes, then no additional restriction on the content can be provided. What I said, that invisible button and everything cannot be appended, right? Eliminate comments from the final codes. If you are using some comments and anything, you can eliminate that from the code. Refer to the latest security news. Use the content security policy, right? So usually they have, some security engineers or the security checkers in almost all the companies, right? But while creating the code, we should also keep these things in the mind, right? So similar to the HTML, the security is important in CSS also. Okay. I hope my background is not disturbing you. Mm, yeah. So we are here. Why CSS security, right? So you understood that why security is important in HTML. Now let's see why it is, how we can see the things in CSS also. So CSS also, you can see some injections. They can, put some malicious code, or in the design they can put something, you can see attacker dot host john background URL. So this can be done using CSS also. This is called the CSS injection. When the change is happening in the HTML code, it is called HTML injection. When they are doing it in CSS files, it is called CSS injection. Now you may think that CSS is just for the design. How somebody can do that? But see, it can be uh, done using that, right? Yeah. mm, all right. Next, see, scan the application with web application security scanner, which can easily detect the vulnerability. Do proper content sanitization, implement proper content security policy. This is the one way. I'm telling you of this. You can easily understand that attacker dot host john is there, but it is not the case always, right? So basically mm, CSS can also lead to this, and they can manipulate the user. How they can manipulate? For example, you have given the link, original link is google.com. Now they can, purchase some domain saying googles.com, and they can put that into the CSS. In one glance, you'll not be able to understand that this mistake has been done, and nobody else will be able to recognize that this kind of thing has happened. And attackers can use this kind of scripting. That's why, you see many of the big names, they always purchase similar kind of domains which are, prone to attack, and they direct that to their page only, like fb.com. The Facebook has purchased fb.com because most of the users actually use FB only on the browser. You simply type FB and facebook.com will open. Nobody types the whole Facebook, right? So likewise, the similar look alike domains usually they purchase so that their website is secure, right? Nobody can attack on their website. So again, CSS injection can be there. Then CSS exfiltration is there. Mm, okay. So CSS exfiltration, where, what they do, they exfiltrate the data from the web page, right, via some external request, or the server. Like they can ask for the cookie, they can steal the cookie, and they can put the malicious cookie instead of the original. Clickjacking can also happen in the CSS, similar to the HTML. And denial of service is another attack which can overload, website CSS by performing some operation which can lead to the crash of the system, right? So it is very very important to understand that attack can happen at any level, and the security measures needs to be applied, right? So sensitize user input. Whenever any form you are creating, just assume that whoever is filling the form is a malicious user. So what kind of information they can put into that form which can, manipulate the behavior of the original form. So just have that criteria in the mind, and before putting in the server, validate it before that, right? Okay, so this is what is about the security, and there are some best practices for css also. You can see larger style sheet can be broken into the small one. Why? So that we can easily understand that what it is, what is written there. You must have observed that every time I was explaining you one concept, I was creating a new file so that it is easy to understand, right? When the big file is there and one or two fields are changed, it is very hard to understand that this particular line has been changed or has been appended by some external user, right? The code should be in the readable format so everybody can easily understand, and properties can be betized so that again you can understand that where all are the possibilities to put the malicious code, right? The static elements can be given negative margin. When it's given negative margin, top left, it will put element on the specified direction and moves upward. CSS code and HTML code should be validated before executing the program. The external CSS sheet for reusability purpose inline styling should be avoided as much as possible. Remove comments from and white spaces in the code before executing, as the white spaces and comment would increase the file size, right? Add proper comments to CSS blocks, which will help others to understand your code and will be easy to analyze the code later on, right? This I am doing for transformation, this I am doing for that. Likewise, you can write. There are some cheat sheets you can refer that what tag can be used or what property can bring what changes. So that's all for the css, and then there is a capstone project. We have overshooted the timeline. Yeah, so you can use again any of the application. I think this is also there in the html. So if you have started building, you can even create the pages like this. Yeah, so that's all from my side. All the best for html and css. Next class we'll be learning about the javascript. So any doubt, any question, please ask.
Yeah, thanks, Q Minakshi. I think it was very slowly and very clearly explained.
Thank you so much, Prithvi. Yeah,
Minakshi,
yeah.
are they going to get any practice papers or any practice notes?
Actually, exercises are already given in line with the HTML and CSS, and I think that is enough. If you
Okay.
practice that much, if you are creating a demo website, the capstone project, I think that will help you understand all the concepts clearly. Yeah,
Yeah.
JavaScript will start in the next class. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have Minakshi with us even in the next session. Meanwhile, I request all the participants to please complete the course material. Just go through it so that if you, in case you come up with any questions, you can please check with her in the next week as well. So the next session will be on the 9th of December, same time, 11. But I see a lot of decline in the